Brock, what's currently on your mind in business?
Growth. That's really what we're seeking right now, and we're going about it several ways. But the big thing right now is growth.
Is growth, huh?
Yep.
So when you're saying growth, is it revenue growth? Is it employee growth? Is it figuring out how to produce more products faster? Like what? All of it? Like what's kind of
A lot of what we're focusing on right now is we need employees. We need help. We're bottleneck with the three of us in the way we currently produce our products. So
gotcha?
definitely looking for employment help. It's challenging because of our geographic location. We don't
Right.
have a lot of skilled machinists in the state of Colorado. It's one of the fewer places to.
You got to be in person. You got to be working on it right there. And
Yep.
no remote work.
No,
machining products.
you don't get a remote work for precision machining. That's for sure.
So within that, what are you guys trying to do to battle or figure that out or try to move forward, even though it's such a challenge?
The one of the things that I've been working more on is we try to partner up with some of the school programs in the
Yeah.
area that are releasing qualified skilled labor
Love it.
in the manufacturing world. So one of the things that I've done is gone out and attempted to mentor some of these up and coming machinists.
That's cool.
Working with the programs themselves.
Like actually in the school.
Yeah, exactly. So they have an advisory committee that I'm on with Pickens Tech and Aurora. We go out, we look at the program, we look at the curriculum, and it's not just me. There's several business owners in the area that kind of come in and give them their opinion on things.
To try to create a path to then position them to be ready for a job when they leave, but also position them to be what you need, like as a skilled worker, to come
Exactly.
in and help you kind of from day one start moving forward instead of having to like have a super crazy like training program.
Exactly.
internally.
It's we're kind of bridging the realm between internship and while they're still working through school and everything. So it gives us an opportunity to help the curriculum really what they're building the education process out on. You know, what are we seeing challenging in the industry? What are things that we can better train these people for so they come out just hitting the ground running?
Love it. Yeah, and it a lot easier said than done.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Do you currently have any interns?
We do not. We're working on. We're kind of in the middle of a semester run here, so usually we try to pull them out of like a spring semester ending.
Okay.
So it falls in line with the school year.
But you have had interns come in internally before?
We
within the
haven't.
business?
We haven't. So this is something
Pretty new.
something kind of new to us.
Super
Yeah.
new. Okay, cool. We internally have interns here, and we've had up to 2 at once, and it's been super cool because they get to learn a ton, and then you hopefully that they can come on as an employee at the end of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that'll be cool if you guys can get that ecosystem working.
yeah.
And working with colleges is such a hack as far as trying to get some extra help in there and helping you guys out in whatever way, especially when you're trying to find that balance of, is it the right person? Is it not? They're learning. And then if you see their passion within it, hopefully.
Exactly.
You guys have such a unique product, right? Like, and that's the thing that a lot of people probably don't understand how it works or what it is or what it does or any of that type of stuff.
The functionality is very unique. The concept behind it's very unique. What we've had to figure out machining processes just to be able to develop or be able to produce it. You don't get to go down and just say, I'm going to need one of you to do this specific task. It's far more. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. We're building that skill set around a special product because of the nature of what it does.
Yeah, and then how important is constantly evolving the product and making it better?
That's the name of the game in the auto racing industry. Yeah. I mean, we're constantly.
It's literally everything.
It's always evolving.
Once you have something that works and people are winning with it, then it's just like, how do we make it a few % better? And then reinvent it.
Well, and what we tell people that are a little bit on the outside of the industry, we build products for competitors, but at the same time, all the competitors that use the products are, competing against each other.
Yeah.
So is the competition, the people that are producing this product line. And we have several competitors that build products comparable to what we do, so they're always trying to refine and make their stuff as the best.
Right.
So
yeah, it's whoever wants to go the fastest will push it the furthest, and then you you may be the weak link at one point, and then you are the best product, and then the next weak link down the line, something comes up, and then you got to like constantly try to be. It's a balance, right? Like they're constantly trying to be better than the next product in line, and then when you're not the weak link, then the next thing's the weak link, and then once that's better, then it forces you to be better. And it's kind of like all tides raise the ships, right?
Exactly.
Type of a thing. So yeah, it's super interesting and super competitive. And then you guys just want to make sure you're the best, right? And on race day, you guys show up and your guys win.
Yep. No.
And it's not even on race day. It's like overall, just make sure they have the product in hand when they need it. Customer service, I'm sure, is like massive to you guys.
It is. And, we do things at a pace that a lot of companies are like, we'll answer the phones. We have a lot of customers internationally. So we'll answer phones. We don't work the typical 9 to 5 schedule that a lot of people, they'll call us on the weekends. They'll call us way after hours. And they're like, wow, I can't believe you guys are even answering the phone. But when you're trying to cater to a demographic of customers that on that scale, you have to do that little extra stuff. And the product line's large. It's heavy. It's hard to just go to UPS and ship it. So we've had to get creative with some of the logistics on it. We use a lot of air freight. We'll take stuff out to the airport, put it on a jet. It'll show up same day. I mean, that's what crazy. You have to do when some of these teams, they'll compete week in and week out. If they break it on Sunday, we try to have it in our shop by Monday, fixing it back on the road Monday night so that they can put it back in the car and go to the next race on a Tuesday.
That's wild. So how did you guys even get into doing what you're doing now currently? What's kind of a little bit of the backstory for those listening that might not know, kind of?
So we were actually just a manufacturer. We were a job shop. We'd take in POs for products that people needed built, and we started doing a lot of work for the previous owner of Quick Drive. Some of the stuff we were doing was developmental.
Sure.
They were at the time working with several manufacturers, and sometimes when you source too much out to too many different people, the pieces don't fit the way they're supposed to. That makes sense.
Fit. Yeah.
So we started bringing more of the product line in house to make sure the fitment worked well, the concept of how everything was supposed to function. The fewer hands you have in it, obviously, the less likely you are to have an issue. So we were doing a lot of developmental work with the previous owner, and he decided that he wanted to take a step back from it. He was dealing with some health stuff and didn't want to see the product line go away, so he approached us to basically take over
and carry it on and
from what it was. So that's how we ended up with Quick Drive. That's how that acquisition happened. And through the last 13 years, we've grown and developed beyond where
pretty much became your staple product, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys still do any of the stuff you did prior? Not really.
We've toned it way down. We used to do a lot of oil and gas exploration equipment. We would do perforation equipment for the fracking industry.
Got it.
And the nature of the way that works here.
That's ebbs and flows.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a timing thing. I mean, about the time that was phasing itself out for us, Quick Drive really started to ramp up. So it just kind of filled the gap.
The world will kind of point you in a direction, and then you just kind of run with it.
Yep, that's it.
It's like, hey, this is where you should go, and that's pretty crazy. And then how was it like taking on more or less? I mean, you knew about it, and you've been making parts for it, but kind of then it becoming your baby and like running with it from there. What was that like?
I think a lot of it, we took on what we had at the time technology-wise, and we kind of all sat down and brainstormed things that we could do, not only to make the product more efficient, but the production process more efficient. So we went through a lot of changes with, how can we build this easier, more cost-effectively, and make it better in the end for the customer. So we spent a good amount of time on that. We retooled some of the casting product line that we had. Some of the components at the time early on were casted products.
Right.
So we would take a raw cast piece of material and then have to figure out how to machine it, find a datum point, a good start point. These things don't have a flat surface on them.
Yeah, right.
So, and then that evolved. We kind of shifted gears, got away from the casting after a couple of years just because we found the market wanted a billet component. the strength of the product
Sure.
increased
That's kind
through
of where it
ability.
had gotten to.
Exactly. And it was easier for us to produce it from the beginning stages of the machine
Because
process.
you could do it all in-house. You don't need a foundry or
Exactly.
anything to cast, yeah.
And then we're not looking for that datum point on this very odd-shaped casting
just a
that
nice
has no
square
flat
block
surface.
that you start
Exactly,
with.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
that's kind of how we've evolved the case portion of it. And then, I mean, the technology throughout the entire product is way different than it was when we started.
Was that like a constant evolving, or was there some really hard points to kind of like fight through, or how did that? I mean, because it was pretty well figured out, right? And you're just kind of making it better.
Yeah, the concept, I mean, it hasn't deviated much from its initial concept of product. We've gone in and done some things to make it function more efficiently. We've changed a significant amount of the circuitry inside of it, the fluid circuitry.
Okay.
And then we've done a lot of development on the brake side of it so that we can reduce reaction time, but increase the likelihood of the win because you can leave the starting line faster.
How much of that is like computer aided data or like real world figuring it out? Like, because that's not easy, right? You got to physically make it. You got to go put it in a car at that point, and then you got to go test it to then take the data and see if it actually works. Or are you figuring some of that out digitally?
So a lot of our early concept stuff, when we sit down to develop a part, we literally start with a napkin sketch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hand drawn on a scratch pad, and we'll take that, we'll put it into a computer aided designing software.
Yeah.
We can actually fit everything up inside of that software package, check the functioning of any kind of moving mechanical component.
That's super cool.
And then before we make a chip on the machine, I mean, we have a pretty good idea of how this whole device is going to function, what the size of it's going to be, down to the weight. We can actually tell it what materials we're going to be using in the production of the part, and it'll tell us exactly how much it's going to weigh when we're done manufacturing it.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a field test. I mean, you can't always do everything
Right.
in cyberspace to say what's going to do what it's going to do, and we know exactly how it's going to work. There comes a time where you've got to actually put it on the track and make sure that it's doing what you want it to do.
Has within that been some failures that didn't
Oh,
play
yeah.
out the way you
Oh
wanted?
yeah, all the time. I mean, that's we're not NASA. I don't want to say that, but we do the same things. You gotta send something up to see if it's going to actually survive the
comes back
trip.
down.
So yeah, we more times than not, you usually have some sort of a failure or breakdown. It didn't do exactly what you wanted it to do from the concept to the actual part. It's gone through many iterations. We've revisioned every part of it, and then what you actually send out to the customer becomes that much better because it's gone through that rigorous testing.
So if somebody was looking at potentially acquiring a business or taking over a product line, what would be some advice or some thoughts you would maybe give them or tell them to look out for, or what? Where's your mind go with that?
There's a lot of pieces as far as manufacturing goes.
Yeah.
There's so much into a production process. We call it tribal knowledge. If it's not documented well, if they don't have a great plan start to finish of how to produce a component, it's shop tribal knowledge. If the employees don't stick with the company during acquisition, it makes it very difficult for you to handshake with a new owner.
Sure.
To take on that task or that design. I would say if you're going after manufacturing, make sure the proprietary information is well documented. That would be the key thing.
That's a big thing. It might be a great product, but if it doesn't have the background to it,
if they hand it over to you and say, "Here you go," and you don't know how to make it, that's
be real rough.
Yeah, you're in trouble at that point.
Or understand like tolerances or the make or breaks.
Correct.
And stuff like that, because you're going to go through a huge amount of learning. I assume even with that though, you should plan on having some sort of a dip initially, like where you where you take it over and you try to like learn, like you got to speed up your learning, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're not to the point where you're ready to take it on 24/7 and you want to try to, I'm going to buy this company and I'm going to go after it, but I want to work a 9 to 5, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
You can't approach
You got to
it
go
that
deep
way.
instantly.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
You got to make it your baby, even though it was somebody else's previously.
Yeah, it's all yours now, huh?
Yep.
Here's your child.
That's
go.
it.
Go take this child and go with it. Yeah. What's relationships look like for you guys, and what's it mean within your customers, within partnerships?
Oh, I mean, it's huge. Anytime you take on a customer, if they don't feel like you're in the trenches with them, I mean, they're not going to last. And I think a lot of where we've found our success in it is the fact that we do offer outstanding customer support. It's not unusual for us to be speaking with a new client or even a client that we've had for any kind of length of time that says, "Oh my gosh, you guys handle this way differently than everybody else in the industry." I think customer service is one of the kind of the pillars of what makes Quick Drive what it is.
Right.
Especially in the auto racing industry, there's so much proprietary information, and even people that come to you and say, "I want to spend all this money with you and buy your products." There's still a lot of hidden tribal knowledge
Speed
within
secrets.
that. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So when we get to an opportunity to work with a client and coach them through how to set it up, how to implement it into their setup or their tune-up on their car, I think they're taken aback at how much we do want to help kind of see it be more seamless for them. So
you're not just buying a product, you're buying a service with
oh
it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think anything, whether it's race cars or computer widgets, whatever you come up with, I think that's so crucial to business. And I think a lot of these larger corporations are losing sight of that. Everybody wants to go jump on the internet and go to e-commerce and buy that whatever, and then they're like, "Well, it doesn't work, and how do I get a refund?" I mean, yeah, there's no longer that customer service accountability for the customer to be able to say, you guys built a faulty product anymore. They're just like, "Well, we'll just send you a refund," and they don't try to develop or move forward. I mean,
because I think they're lost within what they have there, right? Like the person on the other side of the phone might not have the ability to go fix or figure
absolutely,
it out or whatever it is.
Well, and everybody and more and more people have split these companies up into departments where it's like you're going to handle shipping and receiving, you're going to handle product design, you're going to be the guy that answers the phone when somebody has a problem with it, and none of these departments shake hands of any sort.
Right.
So it's very challenging to be the customer service guy. At that point, all you can do is offer a refund. You can't help somebody work through their problem and make it function like it's supposed to.
Right. So and you guys are all of them.
We try to be.
Positions, right?
We try to be as best we can. Yeah. That's
on-site support to the guy machining the product.
Absolutely.
To one packing it and shipping it. And I mean, you guys have a high ticket item, right? Like at the end of the day, it's not a small item or something that people buy hundreds of.
Right.
It's a high ticket item that is developed and designed for a specific reason. And for that, you need that support.
Absolutely. Yeah. This isn't one of those things it didn't work, I'm going to go to Checkers or Napa and buy a different one.
Yeah.
It's
not a muffler.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, there's fewer than a half a dozen of us that build some kind of a comparable product. So if any one of those 6 people drop the ball, they're just going to go to another person. And it's not a quick change. It's not a cheap change. When you find that you want to make a move, to a Quick Drive, the amount of things that have to be modified on the vehicle just to take it and adapt it into the setup. If you're coming from a clutch setup, you're changing bell housings, you're changing drive shaft lengths. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. So a lot of these people want to know, if we're going to go through the effort and spend the money to make the change, we want to know that we've done everything we can do to reduce the possibility of failure or weak point.
Yeah, it's crazy. What do you think about how some businesses like yours, it's more or less built around such a niche like item or product or industry? Like, right, there's some that service tennis shoes or shirts or whatever like that could go to the masses, but then it's probably pretty fruitful if you just want to specifically go down a path of making something niche and unique for any really industry or product or service. Like, because you guys haven't tried to really go way outside the box, right? And like try to make something that fits in every car. You're just trying to stay in your lane and make the best product you can for that niche.
Right. And I mean, we cater to a very high horsepower performance racing application. We don't want this to go in your grocery getter. Do you need a Cessna or do you need a space shuttle? It's
right.
the product line itself isn't intended to go into everything. So you've got to work extra hard on making sure that the few people that make up your market can truly benefit from what you have to offer.
Yeah.
You really got to hone in on the success of the product line that you have. We have branched out. We don't offer specific race car. What am I looking for? We don't. It's not intended to go into one specific type of race car. We've got them from pro mods to funny cars. We've got them in dragsters. We've got them in monster trucks. We have them in boats now. Recently, we've got a gentleman out of Florida that's running them in swamp buggies. If you've ever seen him do the swamp buggy competition. So we are branching out, but at the end of the day, it's still, you're looking for the customer that's going to benefit from our product line is going to be a super high horsepower application and needs to have kind of a setup around what we can offer.
But instead of trying to like chase something that more people could fit, you're more trying to figure out how can our product benefit other people that could use it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're a small company with a few people that kind of run the operation. So our design development focus is going to fit more in that niche area. So instead of investing more money into a broader client range, we've decided to really focus on and make it the best at what it is.
Love it.
Focusing on that small demographic of people that can actually benefit from it.
I think you see a lot of businesses struggle with chasing like the shiny new object thing and not staying their lane, and then that can hurt, right? Or hurt their reputation if it doesn't do well or whatever. So you guys just trying to be the best is like, you got to spend all your energy to be the best.
Right. Well, and I think it really comes down to how your business is structured. If you want to cater to the masses and you want to develop that product that can benefit everybody, I mean, there's a place for that. If you want to have the best of the best of the best of this elite high performance auto racing component, it's just in how you structure it. So we've chose to go that route. So that's where we focus our time on being successful and really putting out a product that benefits that group of people.
No, I get it. So if I was at the shop with you guys hanging out, or I was invisible, what's a day look like in the shop? What's the vibe? How do you guys flow through work and all those types of things?
I mean, we get rowdy just like everybody else. There's a couple of times of the day we'll have some shouting going on, but no, we've really I take on my role and the other guys they'll do what they have to do. So it's a small shop anyway, but we're pretty spread out. I'm focusing most of my time on drawings, engineering, and programming machinery. The other guys are focusing on some product development stuff, some logistic challenges, and then just assembling the products after we have all the pieces built on the machines so we can get them out the door.
So everybody has their kind of portion.
Everybody wears their hats. Yeah.
But it's nice that not everybody has to wear all hats either. You've kind of delegated certain tasks.
Yeah, when it's possible, we try to do
you got to help out or
cross train a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you gotta make sure if you guys somebody's got to leave or whatever, that things don't just come to a halt with a small team. That's a challenge. But it's better than one guy trying to do everything.
Right.
So a small team, then you kind of find your flow and you're able to make a process and work through it. And those that may not know, it's you, your brother, and your dad, right? They're kind of the ones mostly.
That's correct. Yeah, there's three of us that are basically the key men on the whole operation, and occasionally we'll get some helpers, some part-time employees that'll come and go. It's what we can find at the time. But
it's your guys' core passion, and you guys align on that, and you guys show up every day to do those things, right?
Oh yeah.
To make the product.
It's a small enough operation that we've pushed it hard enough to make it be what it is, that it doesn't really ever feel like you call it a day. You're constantly thinking of ideas and how to help people, and like I said, we answer the phones basically around the clock. We've got, I mean, the product line itself, if there's a continent in the world that has a drag strip, chances are pretty high that there's a quick drive there. So we've got them on every major continent with a racetrack.
Have you guys traveled overseas to any
we
of those
haven't
events?
We've had a lot of people in Australia bothering us to come down and see it. We want to go. It's just time permitting, and then you got
to keep making them too.
Oh
while
yeah,
you're gone, huh?
Oh yeah.
No, that's fun. What's some advice or some thoughts you have on like working with family? I'm sure it can be difficult at times, but amazing at others. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you're gonna have unique challenges, being that it's a family-run company that you don't have in other places. But there's some stuff that there's some bright points to it as well. You've got an ability to rely on people that you don't normally have in a more corporate setting.
Right.
So, and you pretty much know the passion level of everybody involved in it. There's things that you can share and communicate differently with family than you can anybody else.
Sure.
So,
yeah, it's business, but it's family. So there's moments where but it's always on too, right?
oh yeah.
But if it's Friday night or Saturday and something's got to go, you
Figure
who
out how
can
to
do
make
it? Let's figure it out.
Yep. Figure out how to make it work.
So that makes it nice that everybody's kind of aligned on. We do whatever it takes to get it done.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool. What's consistency mean to you and the team?
For me, it's about the precision on the parts. So that's the easiest thing I can relate it to. If we got to hold it to 4 decimal places of an inch, that's consistent, means it's going to be that every time.
Yeah. And there's so much that goes into that, right? And when everything's running good, but if it falls out of that, or the troubleshooting or the logistics to figure out why it has to be or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
The process of making it right every time.
Right. No, we find ourselves in the it's more about being in the business of reducing variables. And in the racing game, that's the huge thing, because there's so many things happening that have to, align and be perfect in a 4-second span of time.
Right.
So we're constantly trying to reduce variables that keep that from happening. Same thing with the production of the product. Anything that we can do, anything that we can bring in house and not have another shop outside of us work with it, we've taken efforts to reduce that variable.
When we're talking about competition and people winning, how important is it that, like, the whole, win on Sunday, sell on Monday type thing, having your guys as influencers, promoting that stuff online, people seeing when they win, like, how much of people doing well with your product does that mean to the company?
I mean, it's huge. It's just like anybody that gives out a product recommendation. It becomes your kind of your review online, if you will.
Yeah.
To see the winner circle, see the car and the product in the winner circle is huge. But I think a lot of the teams that we work with, they know how hard we've all kind of worked together and demonstrated our ability to provide customer service. A lot of them will absolutely not bat an eye to jump on a camera or send a Facebook message and really tout how well we do present customer service to our people.
Yeah. And you guys will travel and go to the races and be right there alongside of some of them, right?
Yeah, we do when we can. We try to hit the bigger events that we have a lot of cars at, so we can provide on track support if they have any issues, or if they're trying to work through a new combination.
Right.
We're there to obviously help out and stuff. So and then in the event that we get lucky enough, and we were down in Bradenton at the Florida World Series of Pro Mod race. And one of our drivers, Steve King, and the Gene Pilot Racing organization, they won the event. So we got a chance to be there and be in the winner circle photos and help where we could. So
doesn't get much better than
that.
that.
No, I mean that's what we do that for. Everybody does it. Whether you're racing or you're building parts to go racing, you want to win.
It's kind of like you're in competition, they're in competition. Business is a competition in different ways, right?
Yep.
So you want to win for them, they want to win for you. Ultimately, they love a big check if they get one.
Yep.
That's not always what racing is, but sometimes there's a little skin in the game there. So yeah, it's super cool to probably watch somebody make a transition to your product and then succeed with it, right? Because I'm sure you get people that come and they're struggling and they're trying to figure out the race program, and then you guys help them through that, and then they start to succeed and do better. And I'm sure that's super satisfying.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a new layer of victory there when you can work through the transition with somebody on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What would you say some of the hidden costs are in business? Like your work-life balance, you're got to wake up at 3 a.m. for a phone call. What are some of the things that you guys deal with on,
things that you don't even think about when you start out, for sure. you make sacrifices. Probably one of the tougher sacrifices I've had to do is with my family and stuff. My brother and my dad, I mean, we're always around each other, so that's not the family I'm talking about. It's more the wife and the kids and missing out on opportunities
Yeah.
to be a part of the household family life. So that's a huge sacrifice that you end up finding yourself making through the process. I mean, just the amount of time it takes to be able to be passionate all the time about it. You don't realize when they say, oh, it's 24/7. It's 24/7.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. You wake up in the middle of the night and with a eureka moment and, you're back on the clock again, going to work.
For a little bit, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What, you have any advice on kind of navigating that and keeping both sides of that happy?
If I knew, I'd definitely share it with you. No, when you figure it out, let me know.
It's a constant balance of
It is. And I think you got to go about it in the best way that you can and put forth the effort. I think acknowledging your shortcomings with outside of the business, awareness. If you're aware of it, you tend to reprioritize and do what you can to see more time with your family and kind of cover some of those areas that you're not getting the opportunity to because you're so business oriented.
Yeah, you try to put a lot in so then you don't feel so bad taking a little bit out. But then I think people get caught up on trying to figure out that balance, right? Or they'll go too far one way and then too far the other, and then the business suffers, but then the family suffers, and then like it's a constant balancing act.
It is.
It's kind of crazy.
It's more evolutionary than the products that we put together, I think.
If only it was as easy as developing something like
Right.
that, right? Yeah. No, and I think different times of life, like what are your guys' goals, or what are your goals, or where do you, like 5 years ago, where the business was to where it is now, is that where you think it would have been?
No, I mean you set goals and you have expectations, but you never get. I mean the end route is never what you think it's going to be. I think it's just like the race. You can qualify number one. You can have the best product in the car. You can do all the things that you need to do to theoretically win, but everybody still shows up in races on Sunday because the win isn't guaranteed. So anything can happen. Sometimes you get racing luck, sometimes you don't. And as that relates to business, I think you go out and you approach it through, I want to do the best I can. You set yourself up for success. And at the end of the effort, you don't know where the cards are going to land. So you got to go through the process to see how it will be. And I don't think 5 years ago I thought that I would be where I was at 5 years ago. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
You got to run the race basically to see where it ends up.
Everybody likes to ask, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I think that's a hard one because looking at it the other way, you won't know. You just don't know what might happen next week or what opportunity or what might make sense for the business. So kind of looking at the data, if you will, from the last 5 to then trying to look forward, and then you're trying to adjust things to then better the future of it, right? And I think within business, those are an interesting mindset to look at, like auditing yourself to a point, but then also like trying to figure out what does that all mean and where are we trying to go with this thing?
Right. Well, and I think you got to carry a degree of fluidity through that. I think if you get yourself set too tight on these goals, like I'm going to be here at this time in my career and the company's going to be this successful, I think some of those metrics that you try to hold yourself to can actually hinder your business growth.
Absolutely.
So I think more successful people in business learn how to adjust and constantly be chasing a fluid goal, but they're not so set on an end game that it completely burdens their approach to it.
Do you feel within the niche like you could chase is there 50% more to go get? Is there do you feel that there's a limit to how much the business can grow to saturate the market, but within the new areas you're finding customers, maybe not, what's kind of on your mind with me saying that?
I'll tell you, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I had a clear shot or a crystal ball to that. We try not to be naive to the fact that, market position's only as big as it's going to be. You've only got so many customers, but anytime I've said that or I've made that statement out loud to my dad or my brother, it seems like somebody comes out of the woodworks and they're like, I've got this sand dragster that we've never even heard about. And I mean, like the sanctioning body or the type of racing we've never even heard about. And they come to us and they're like, we think we could have some success with your product. Well, we just opened the market that we didn't even know we had. So I don't want to say that we've grown as big as we got to grow, or we're out of opportunity to grow. A lot of what we're finding out is that we don't really know how big the market space is.
Yeah, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you have enough time to go then navigate or find it, right? Or if they come to you, it's great, but there's probably a bunch of things out there that you have no idea about. You're like, man. And then within some of it, right, I imagine your product's not allowed or within rule sets, or, you know, it's like transmission rules and different things, like a converter drive might not be allowed within it, right? Or maybe it is for a period of time, then people win with it and then they take it out of the rules.
No, we've experienced that. You know, we have people too successful and then they got to write a rule package around it and prevent us from being in that, or they got to break off the class and say, okay, we're gonna have this open class now that allows you to run that. So no, I mean, and that's the other side of it too, is the sanctioning bodies and the classes, they evolve too. So, you know, there's classes that are opening up and becoming, you know, more open to letting the participants run the product. And then, you know, there's other classes that are like, oh, we want to stay traditional. We don't want torque converter drive units to be allowed in it. So, I mean, you lose one class, you gain another one, and it ebbs and flows, like you said. So,
yeah, that's, I'm sure there's some great days and not so fun days when some of those things happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's business. You're gonna have great days and you're gonna have horrible days. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. What's like, you guys have some big wins here and there, like as far as like, you know, a customer you've always wanted, or you know, a racer, and then they come to you and they're like, all right, let's try your product, and it's like super exciting, or one that leaves and it's just not as, you know, it's a bummer. Like what?
You know, when we first started out, and we first got really going with Quick Drive, it was for me anyway. I can't speak on behalf of the other guys in it, but you know, you kind of have that initial starstruck feel, like, oh my gosh, these big names in the industry that, you know, I've only watched on TV, and then you start getting the phone calls coming in, and I'm so and so, and you're like, wow, you kind of get
I know
that,
you are,
yeah. In the beginning, you get that euphoria a little more than as you've been doing it for, you know, over a decade. I don't want to say that the excitement behind, you know, bringing in new clients don't resonate quite the same way, but after a while, everybody is kind of the same. It levels out as far as how you think about people, instead of being super excited because you hold this person to a pedestal approach. You realize very quickly that, you know, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like I do every day. So I think that part of it has changed for me as far as the oh my gosh aspect of it. But no, I mean, when you bring in a new client, that's the exciting part. It doesn't matter who they are.
Just another person that wants to run your product or utilize your guys' services.
Well, yeah, right? I mean, you still hold respect for everybody. It's not like, oh, you know, I've grown and I'm this status, so you don't rank as highly as I once thought. But no, I look at it more so as we treat the little guy that's, you know, entry into the sport, doesn't have a big name, hasn't done any of that.
He just wants to go play.
They just want to go play. They want to enjoy. They want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
So what I hope I convey through that is that, you know, we treat the little guy just like we would the big, well-known professional that's been doing it forever.
Yeah, it just certain people take different attention, and whether the guy just his first one or the guy that has three of them, because I assume that you guys have customers that are pushing you to be better, right? Or they want the next greatest thing, or like they're like, how do we go to the next level, or what is it, right? Like because you're searching constantly for improvement, whether it's within your product or the surrounding components around your product. They're just like,
well, and I think like, so the customer base that we do have, I think is one of our biggest assets, not just for, you know, relaying to the people that don't run the product how great it is, outside of the testimonial, having good clients that come back and give you the feedback, so you have the opportunity to develop and make better newer product lines.
Yeah.
That's such an asset to us because, truth be told, we don't have a car to compete in these. We're so busy developing the product that we don't have time to go out and compete like these guys are. They become kind of an extension of our R&D team.
Yeah.
So the feedback that they can let us into and let us be a part of, they're kind of allowing us to be in the race team, basically.
Yeah, instead of having your own race team, you're a fractional part of a lot of people's race team.
Absolutely. So to be able to have that understanding with these teams and kind of have that symbiotic relationship, if you will, it does. We couldn't have opened the door without our customer service, but we couldn't create the product line that we've had the success with if they didn't feel comfortable sharing some of the research and development that they've seen happen in the field. So it's a two-way street, and it's really allowed us to better our product through it.
How important is enjoying what you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, you love racing, you guys make products for racing, but you don't get to go race as much, but you kind of get to live it every day too. So what's that look like? What's the balance look like for you guys?
I mean, I think to invest the amount of time that you do into your business, you better love it.
Gotcha.
Like, if you don't have a passion for it, it's going to be the most miserable experience of a life that you could have.
Yeah.
A lot of people that get, and you've got entrepreneurs and you've got an employee mentality. There's a difference there. A lot of people don't necessarily think that they want to work outside that 9-to-5 realm. So when you tell people, you basically gotta live, eat, sleep, drink, breathe this company. A lot of people are intimidated by that. Well, I want to be able to go into work at 9 o'clock and get off at 5 o'clock and then have my separation to go do something else. So if you're going to
goes perfect for a few years, maybe.
right. But I think if you're going to embark on that business ownership, business growth, you're taking a different priority stance to it where you don't really ever clock out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're constantly doing it, whether you're in the shop making parts or you're thinking about what you can do to make the parts better, or you're thinking about how to get that new client, or, I mean, there's so many things that exist outside of being in there working on the parts.
Well, and even your outside relationships are a part of that, right? So you almost never escape it. So if you don't love it, you will never escape it.
That's the big thing. If you don't have the passion for it, then, what's it like? I don't know. I don't live in those shoes, so
agree.
I don't know what that would be like, but I can't imagine that's an enjoyable.
You know how hard it is anyway.
Right. Oh yeah.
If you didn't have the passion, there's no way it would work.
Yeah. Why would you go through life and do that? That's what I would have to ask.
I understand. I totally agree with that. To change gears a little bit, what's some things that you do outside of business? What are you into? Like? I know business is the everything, but is there any other hobbies or what do you enjoy? What else is on your mind?
I mean, recently became, and I say recently, he'll be 2 in August. I'm still considering myself a new dad.
Yeah.
So I've got a little boy, and any waking moment that I have that's not invested into a business at the moment, I just enjoy spending time with him.
That's cool. What's he into?
I mean, he's not speaking a bunch yet, so he can't really tell me what he's into. But he likes trains, he likes tractors, anything car wise that he can push around on the ground. Huge fan of that stuff. So. But yeah, he's just been a lot of fun. Recently, getting interested in going outside and kind of being, and it's just starting to warm up here, so we can finally take advantage of some of that. But yeah, he likes to get on his power wheel and zip around the yard. And
that's cool.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I'm sure that's been a different mindset or change or
drastic. Yeah. Drastic change.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anybody that is maybe going to be a dad or thinking about having kids, what's some advice there? What's your thoughts on that?
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know how much you don't already know. So no, it's anybody that's questioning, do I want to embark on that or not? I would say do it. I mean, do it. I would say sooner than later. I'm a little bit on the older end of the spectrum for a new parent. And there's days that I'll get up off the ground from playing with them, and I'm like, man, I waited way too long to do this. I'm hurting. So no, I think it's big. I think if you have any kind of idea that you want to go that route, do it, because sooner or later you will run out of the opportunity to do that.
And how old are you?
I'll be 39 this year.
So that's always a thing, right? Like having kids younger or a little bit later in life,
right?
are you pretty happy with like being probably positioning yourself later in life to then provide and probably have a little bit different lifestyle for like your
That was
stuff?
the goal I had. I mean, I wanted to obviously wanted to have a business. I wanted to see that business through a certain degree of success. There were some things that I wanted to accomplish in my life before I took on trying to bring somebody else up through it. But I looking back on it, I don't know. I mean, everything, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
You think one way and then you get there and you're like, I could have done this different. I could have done that.
Right.
So I don't know that there's a perfect, ideal time to embark on parenthood.
If only you
but,
could live life twice, huh?
oh, I know the things that I would do differently, but that's part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun, exciting part of it, and navigating everything while the world doesn't stop.
Yep.
Time goes by.
Always.
What else? Any investment things you're into, or
So, recently got into the world of Forex, which was
so you're like them scammers on the thing where it's like, hey, follow so and so because they're a Forex trader. There for a while, there was so many comments online that was just like, follow so and so for the Forex whatever. And it was terrible.
I got into it. It was just after COVID, basically. I'd followed a financial guy that my wife actually found on Instagram. He was a crypto guy.
Okay.
Everything's big into crypto,
Big
all
crypto
that stuff.
right now, yeah.
So we started to kind of dabble a little bit in the world of crypto. We checked into some of the guy. He was offering some courses and some stuff. So we reached out and somehow ended up on a mailing list or a contact list, if you will.
They got you.
But I got into it was an algorithm that trades for you. And in the beginning, I was like, it almost sounded too good to be true.
Yeah.
But, let's just put a small amount of money into it and see what happens. Lo and behold, in the first year of doing it, it was significant. I mean, we're talking 100% plus significant. Really? So I was very, now I'm thinking, okay, this was a good move. But like anything, you have your ups and you have your downs. Right. So lost a pretty good amount of it around the election cycle.
Just here recently?
Yeah, just recently. Yeah. So
when crypto went up, that went down, or what?
Well, the problem with it was in the way that the algorithm works is it works off of ranging market space. So price up, price down, price up. And Forex, if you don't know what Forex is, it's the relationship of one world currency to another. So we're not trading stocks or actual tokens or any of that.
Yeah.
We're basically just trading on the speculation of a price as it relates from one currency to another.
Is the money physically getting exchanged and then exchanged back as you're moving it around, or is it?
No, you kind of you piggyback on the valuation. So you can go short or you can go long, and if you guess the correct way or if it goes the way that you anticipate it going, then you win on it from the trade itself.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm purchasing currency in a denomination or whatever and then selling it when another currency reaches. That's not really how it works. So it and on the specifics, I'm not the person to really give that advice on what I know enough to be dangerous with it. But no, so it's been fun to learn about and kind of try something new, something that's outside of the world of manufacturing and everything. So, but yeah, it's that we have our crypto portfolio, we have our Forex work that we're doing with it, and no, it's fascinating. It makes you. I think it's good for the business. If I had to say, it's a hobby side thing that relates back to being a business owner. Yeah. It really forces you to pay more attention to markets. I mean, I was never a big, get up in the morning, read the Wall Street Journal, follow this stuff.
What's the news today?
Exactly. So it's forced me to be more cognizant of moving markets, and then with the Forex stuff, because it's world currencies, it makes you pay way more attention to what's going on around the world in different markets. So one of the things that I relate it to is, we do business with a lot of people in Australia, New Zealand. We have some customers over in the Middle East, UK, some of the European countries.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see you know, when we get people on the phone that are inquiring about the product and they're like, well, you know, I'm just not really sure I want to do something right now. It's pretty funny that you can kind of go over and look at the Forex link to it. And it's like, well, the dollar's up right now compared to
Yeah.
these other countries. They probably don't want to do it right yet.
So in business and dealing with international, understanding the difference in the dollar values and stuff is
Absolutely.
huge.
Exchange rate. Yep. Is huge.
So you guys will have people that'll literally just try to hold until either they absolutely have to or until it's a better.
Right.
Because on like a high ticket item, that makes, I mean, it's significant amounts, right?
Oh yeah. And then, you know, and then kind of throw into the mix of things with the new administration. Really, they're trying to play this fairness in the world trade game through tariffs and reciprocal tariffs. So that adds a whole new level or a whole nother layer of people's, you know, interest in actually purchasing products internationally. So yeah, but I think it's good because it forces you to be aware of what's going on outside of what your normal space of what you're working in.
So just to keep an eye on the outer workings of the world, although it may not affect you directly, it may affect your customers, and then therefore you can understand how to better maybe service them, or if you even probably if you're watching it, right? Like the follow-up game. Hey, they called last week. They said, no, there's been a major swing in the pricing change here.
Yep.
They'll save X dollars. Maybe I should reach out to them and say, hey, how about now? Right?
Yep. No, that's a great way to do it. We had a warm lead. Now he's a hot lead because the market's just shifted
and that fast, right? Yeah. Which is really interesting because some people may never have to technically worry about that on it because that's consistently changing.
Right.
That happens day in and day out. So do you think that changes, like what's the time frame that you usually see that like manipulates? Is it like months? Is it over a year? Like if their country's in a weird spot? Like,
I think it really depends on how much change you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff that we're messing around with is like 5 decimal places out of currency. So we're looking for a very, very small change that you can see happen in a couple of weeks' time very, very quickly. But if you're talking like, you know, when's the dollar going to double over? I mean, obviously that never really happens. But to have a very large swing in a currency differential, you don't see it happen frequently. It might take a quarter to see something like that happen.
So for business, understanding where it's headed, but it's not necessarily could adjust day to day for you guys in business to affect a lot. But watching it over a quarter could make a difference for you or your customers.
Yeah, and I think the different markets, you know, obviously not just the currency side of it, but the seasonal side of things. For Australia, they're offset from us. They're in the southern hemisphere.
Sure.
So where we'll have, you know, very intense aggressive race season that runs basically April through October in the States. They're flip-flop to that. So
which is cool.
They're just starting to really ramp things up in like September in Australia.
That's kind of a cool hack for businesses, right? Like we even currently have clients that are seasonal, so they're getting ready to ramp up for summer things and you know, different things that go on. So like, could we work with clients in Australia during our winter months? It's the same kind of business we're marketing, but yet it's the flip.
Yep.
When our seasonal people go away here, can we pick up seasonal people there to potentially balance the?
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that, but I like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, and a lot of I like interacting with other business owners. I watch a lot of podcasts with business owners because there's things that you don't always think of. I mean, I think some of the things that you can arm yourself with in business is just having a diverse enough informational channel. Because there's so many things. You go to school and you're an engineer, and all you think about are the numbers.
Right.
And you come out of school and you're like, well, I want to start a business around engineering. Well, you didn't go to school to market, so you have no idea what that looks like. You better either, you know, partner with somebody who's very well versed in marketing or start doing a lot of things to educate yourself on that brand of education you didn't get.
Yeah, at least understanding it, right? And deep diving enough to know what's going on or what's happening so you can make calls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's some other things? Anything else is that kind of what your main pillars you're into, or is there anything else?
As of now, that's it. I just came off of a home build right before my son was born. Actually, we were still working on the home after he was born. So yeah, I just finished a construction phase in my life.
Learned a lot there.
Swinging hammers, and yeah, I did learn a lot. That was something I don't know that I would take on again.
You guys built like a custom home then?
Yeah, yeah.
What was your most exciting? What'd you love the most, and what'd you hate the most out of it?
I think the day that we dug the hole for the foundation was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then
Everything from there on
the
out.
last time I saw an inspector come by and sign off on a permit, that was
was
probably the
the
next best part about it.
The very
But,
beginning and the very end, everything in between was a little rougher.
Yeah. No, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And we kind of went at it like, hey, this would be a cost-effective way to get into a home and do this. So we took it on, and we actually designed the whole home. I did all the drafting for it. We had we had an engineer have to actually sign off on the structural concept of it, and then we didn't do drywall, we didn't do concrete, and I had a company do the stucco and the shingles, but
Sure.
everything else, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, framing. I mean,
It's a big project.
we did all of it. So
It's a lot.
a lot of YouTube.
Hang
people
a
are
door,
like, how'd you
right?
learn
Yeah.
how to do that? You don't build houses for. I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you
it's
can
so
learn it.
powerful.
Oh, it's out of this world.
Yeah, when we literally built our little office spaces here, I was like, I've never hung a door, how to hang a door, and sure enough, they'll show you,
They'll
right?
show you how to do
And
it.
they're like, this is how you, if you do it wrong, this is what the door's gonna do. You're like, yeah, I kind of did that wrong, and then
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But the amount of time you're investing to then learn to do it, super satisfying, but then it exponentially takes longer because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
also learning throughout the process.
Yep.
And working on houses is a little different than cars.
Oh, way different. Yeah. Well,
hard.
it's hard, and not even just working on cars, but like coming from a machinist concept.
You're like, close enough. Kunk.
Well, and you're like, I got to get everything down to what, like plus or minus 0.02 of an inch. And then they're like, the construction guys are like, you're within a quarter inch, you're good.
Right.
That's 200.
I'm off by a mile
That's
here.
250 thousandths of an inch in machinist talk. So you're like, no, we are not speaking the same language here,
Yeah.
guys. But it took me 6 months to figure out, hey, you don't need to be that crazy about it.
It's
like,
okay,
cut it
right?
with a little bit extra, gap there. It'll make this fit.
You have not, you're going to build this home for 10 years.
Oh
type
yeah,
of, like,
oh yeah.
it's-
We were 3.5 years building it, so I mean, I was not.
You had to give a little bit somewhere.
Yeah. So, but no, that was so yeah. Now I'm at a point where I can kind of reflect and figure out what I want to hone in on my next hobby phase of my life, I guess.
Yeah, because how do you kind of navigate that, you think, with new ideas? How do you navigate new ideas?
Things that spark interest. I mean, I watch a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Hearing what other people do, seeing things that other people do. I do enjoy traveling when I have time to do it.
Yeah.
Something my wife and I we've talked about in the past doing. So maybe we'll get a chance to do more traveling here in the near future and go and seeing places.
Where's one of your favorite places you've been?
I went to Europe in high school, England, the UK. I went to Ireland. Really enjoyed a lot of that just to see that. That was the first time I'd
different
really
culture,
been
different-
out of the country. The thing that fascinated me was, the age of the buildings. Like
Yeah.
you walk around the U.S.
So
and you're like,
much
this building's
history.
300 years old. You walk around London and it's like, this building's 3,000 years old.
That's
and you're like,
crazy.
come on, you're being facetious.
And it's
not real.
beautiful.
And
it's
it is,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see how the age difference in the countries.
Build
So-
quality, just different.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
ways
yeah.
they did things. And yeah, that is cool. Where do you want to go? What's a destination?
I really would like to. I want to go see Monaco. I'd like to go see
That would be cool.
the F1 race out there.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back to Europe and or into the UK, Great Britain area. You spend days there and you don't see enough. I mean, it's a small geographic area, but there's so much to see there. You can't see it all in 10 days.
Wow.
So it'd be cool to go back to London. I really want to go to Scotland. Haven't been to Scotland yet. I got a thing for castles and architecture, so
Okay, yeah.
I'd love to go see some old castles.
So that's kind of where you see a picture of something. You're like, where is that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
That's cool.
So that would be exciting to go do. And then when the little man gets old enough, I really want him to see Disney. Take him out of the theme parks and let him experience the stuff
Sure.
that I did when I was a kid.
Yeah. Got to go on the rides and
Oh yeah,
the same ones that have been there forever.
that's it.
Maybe some new ones. I mean, like the design and stuff of all the different parks when they bring them on is pretty cool, and how they bring something that was once a cartoon into feeling real life and stuff like that's pretty neat.
Yep.
Experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big on experiences and experiencing things or seeing things or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. You mentioned, podcasts and you listen to a lot of that. Like what are you currently listening to? Who do you listen to? What's some of your favorite?
I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan because he's got a lot of different people. It's not just business. It's not just politics. He's got a very well-rounded
Sure.
guest base on that. I'll pick stuff up at random. Usually I'm watching everything through YouTube. So YouTube's like, hey, you watch this, you probably want to watch this.
So you like through search based more than like a person you follow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like whatever your interest is, you'll just kind of research that, and if you land on a podcast that has that information, you'll like learn or listen to
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people are like very specific when they search. I want to look for so and so's, and
Right.
you get the little suggestions at the end of YouTube. It's my understanding. I don't know. I don't ask anybody this, but I just figured a lot of people would be like, I don't want to watch what's suggested at the end. I watch those.
Yeah,
so
that is
I'll
you,
sit
yeah.
down and I'll just let that thing go through a loop and watch, when I have time.
Sure.
Usually it's late at night when I can't sleep or something to that effect.
When you're thinking about too many things,
Exactly.
and you turn something on so you can think about more.
Focus on something different so I can go to sleep here pretty quick. But no, I'll start with a Joe Rogan podcast, and then whatever YouTube suggests I watch from there.
Really?
I'll just kind of
Interesting.
I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm sure you found some stuff that you're like, what am I listening to? And then other
yeah.
times you're like, this is fascinating.
Well, the recent one I embarked on was an Elon Musk Joe Rogan podcast, and then it starts throwing all the SpaceX stuff at you.
Yeah.
After that from YouTube.
Yep.
So I'm like, well,
Now you're down a rabbit hole.
they've got this Raptor motor and the Merlin, and this is just, I'm fascinated by that kind of machinery anyway. So going to the Kennedy Space Center was amazing to me to go see the Saturn V, and just the sheer size of all this stuff is crazy. So as I see what SpaceX is getting into and stuff.
You try to figure out how to have your micro version of those things or ideas or processes.
Oh yeah. Well, and the way his mind works with production lines. So when you're in the space of, we got to figure out how to make it cheaper, make more of it faster. There's some relatability to it. So you kind of, obviously you're like, well, what did he do? How did he think about that?
You want the micro data right there, right?
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, we made it better. You're like, no, how did you make it better?
Yeah.
Like,
I want the behind the scenes and the footnotes and all the extra stuff that went into
Yeah.
this before you got shot at. No, but no, that's the stuff that intrigues me, and so it just comes easy to me to pop that on. And usually, if it starts down an entrepreneur, I'll get 4 more along the way. So then it becomes fascinating to see how other people like me think.
Yeah, so you kind of let YouTube take you down different rabbit holes, but within that, you're probably gaining a lot of knowledge at depth.
Yep.
Not just, oh, okay, that's what they do. You're like, I'm hours or a couple episodes down it. So
yep. And then occasionally you want to clear the cache on everything so that it doesn't keep
like, what's
throwing
new,
the same
right?
stuff at you.
I did notice that in shorts. If you like watch a short all the way through and scran, you watch one more, like the next 10 are very close to whatever that was. Where other, social media apps and stuff, it'll be it's similar but different, right? Like they'll throw 3 of this and 3 of that and 3 of that, but like it'll just keep feeding you the exact.
Yep.
Very strategic content.
Well, it's the AI or the algorithms.
Yeah.
Well, he's consecutively looking at this type. We're just going to keep putting that same info. I want the algorithm that does the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I've already looked at that. Show me something new.
That's cool.
That would be, if somebody figured out how to do that.
You're like, I almost want nothing related to what I'm watching.
Exactly.
and then give me that.
No, you gotta expand the mind and think differently every time. Like, expose yourself to new stuff.
What's one of the most interesting new things you've found in the last maybe year or so that you've kind of found yourself down the rabbit hole of?
I've been following a guy. Well, I actually started following him prior to the house building, and then I stopped because I was watching too many house building YouTube videos. But I've since started kind of refollowing his stuff, and he's a massive acquisition guy. So I'm kind of reshaping my theory about business growth to align more in the acquisition space. So we'll kind of see how that develops moving forward. But
so maybe in the future you'd like to potentially acquire other businesses or another business or whatever.
Yep.
And then see where that goes.
Well, and even to assist with the growth of current advent.
So something that may align
right.
near it, but then different.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I'm super excited about that. Hopefully in the long term is like being able to use what we're building at high speed to then potentially utilize to help build other businesses. So then, but it's like, what do you want to get into?
Right.
There's so much.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you don't know what you don't know. So
exactly.
Right. Like making a chicken sandwich, if you don't know what all goes into that or sourcing or whatever, that'll change a lot.
Yep.
So do you think you would go more down the path of more products or a service that goes along with, or what? Like,
I mean, right now, one of the things that the way my mind is approaching this is kind of how we touched on. There's 3 of us that produce quick drive components.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies out there that have large employment caches of resources.
Sure.
So my thought was, if some of the bottlenecks that we encounter is just having time in a day, and there's only so many of us in the shop that can do stuff, finding a company that has a larger workforce, that may have other additional technologies.
But you could leverage that to then benefit.
Correct.
Sure.
Yep. And one of the big things that we're, there's equipment in the production world is expensive.
Right.
So to be able to machine this a certain way or to take this process to market, you're heavily invested into these different pieces of equipment.
Pallets and tooling and
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you can strategize around finding a shop that doesn't have or that has capabilities outside of what you can currently do, it also helps you think about different ways to manufacture stuff, different ways to produce the widget.
You're buying all their information in a sense, and you're like,
and their tech.
Yeah,
I mean, if
how'd
they've got this specialty machine that can do it this way, and we've been trying to do it that way for as long as we have.
You didn't even know the machine
we didn't even know
existed.
that machine existed.
Yeah.
Exactly. So no, and I think this is kind of where the business growth meets the technology growth meets the competition's request. Like what we're doing at Quick Drive to produce the latest cutting edge racing technology. Now we're kind of taking a step back and saying, okay, well, in the manufacturing world, what can we implement technology-wise to make that product line even more advanced?
Yeah, not in a future-proofing is like an interesting term because everything moves so fast, right? But like future-proofing at least to the next step, whether that's 2 years, 5 years, 15 years, whatever. It's just foreseeing what you will need to be competitive and produce the best products you can in the future. I think an interesting thing in business is how do you act like you want to be 6 months or a year from now? So what are you doing today that you're actually putting into play that you don't need until 6 months from now or a year from now? Like obviously your mindset is like kind of in that realm, right? What do we look like 2 or 3 years from now, and how do we get there?
You're kind of touching on the. It's my understanding you don't have kids yet, right?
No.
Okay. You'll grow into it.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of what I'm saying.
Sure.
So, once you get kids, you buy them clothes, but they're too big now, but they'll grow into it. Yeah. You kind of do the same thing with business in what you can offer, how much of it you can offer. You're like, well, I can make 1 million widgets, but I've got a client base that can buy 100,000 of them. Yeah. I don't need to make 1 million widgets. Well, let's look outside of that space. Now, when we're talking. We're super niche in what we can do at Quick Drive and who can purchase our products, but we've just expanded our offerings, so now we've just opened up a new demographic.
Yeah. We were talking earlier kind of about, the way the world works, and you guys deal a lot with materials. Are you guys like trying to buy ahead in case of like tariffs or different things that happen, or, costs of materials change, or do you just try to adjust the price of the product based on that? Or you have some stuff that goes into play there.
I mean, some of the stuff that most of the stuff we build our products out of is 6061 built aluminum.
Right.
What it comes down to on that is more of just the space resource. If you don't have a big warehouse to stock a bunch of that product, you're better off just kind of buying it as needed. Some of the more unique alloys that we mess around with in the shafting material, and some of those things, we're starting to implement more titanium into some stuff.
Oh, I see.
So some of those products that the price fluctuations way more dynamic. That would be something that we might consider buying ahead
when it's a good price. After you've been in
Right.
business long enough, you know, okay, this is a pretty good price for this material.
Exactly.
Let's try to stock up for what makes sense for the business, right?
Yep.
So then having some sort of cash flow or some sort of backing to make sure that like you're not over leveraging the business, but you're also positioning yourself the best that you can within it, right?
Yeah, and I think that's, if you've got the ability to have that foresight, I mean, do it.
Yeah.
But if you sometimes, you know, and especially in the seasonal work, when you have a strong seasonal business that, you know, the ebbs and flows that you experience over the course of a year,
Yeah.
it's prohibitively challenging to now forecast how much material you're going to need. So some of that stuff just becomes you know, as we need it, we buy it. Not just materials, but tooling. You know, we
Sure.
run a lot of tooling that wears out. So, kind of the downside to being overly prepared in that is, just like the racing industry, the tooling manufacturers are coming up with new ways to produce their products.
Sure.
So you don't want to buy too much of the old product because you kind of shoot yourself in the foot there too.
So constant balancing act on
Yeah.
that side of it as well.
Yeah, you don't want to get too heavily invested in the now, so that when the future rolls around, you've already spent the money, and they've come out with a tool that cuts your workflow in half.
Right.
Well, now we're stuck because we've committed to this other process a couple of years back.
Or we write it all off, and then that's not good either.
Yeah.
Or
So
we eat it, and
I don't know that. Now I'm sure there's some industries out there that would argue that with me and say, no. If you can buy it cheaper, always buy it at But I think when you've got a highly evolving, you know,
sure,
industry, you don't want to get too committed in process, in tooling, or in technology, because things change so fast.
How far out do you guys play?
We're annual. I
Okay.
try to have inventory turn in a year.
Okay.
Which
Which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not 3 months out, because that could get you in a bind, right?
Well, and you know, we probably have about a 6 month. Like if I had no inventory on the shelf and I had to build everything from start to finish, we're probably like a 6 or 7 month fulfillment period.
Yeah.
So we've got, I think there's 30 components that go in the drive unit. So we're not building 30 single parts at a time.
Right.
I'll build a batch run of each component,
Got
you know, and then stock them on the shelf. So we run through cycles where, you know, this week we're building this part, this week we're building that part. So, but I usually I don't want to build more than about a year's worth of components at a time.
Because you just don't know what it'll look like in a year.
Well, and parts change.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a lot of times where we've got a shelf full of this, and we found a better way to make it work doing this. So we'll shelf it and kind of set it aside. People will call up, hey, I need to fix this, and it's this vintage, and so we'll run into some of that stuff. But yeah, you don't want to make the inventory so extensive that you can't develop and produce better stuff because you're worried about selling old stuff.
And you guys don't really ever do sales or like, you know, discounting your product or anything like that. You just kind of.
We've tried it. I mean, we've turned over the stone on it to see if that was something that people would respond to. It just seems like when you're in that hyper niche, I mean, when they want it, they want it. They don't care what it costs.
Right.
And when they're not interested in it,
5% or 10% don't make a difference.
It doesn't matter how big of a promo you run in front of them. They're like, well, I don't need it right now. I don't want it right now. So we haven't found the magic bullet with that yet.
Yeah. You just make the best product, and when they need it or want it, they'll buy it.
Yep.
Yeah, which is cool. It's definitely different businesses live in such different ecosystems, and I think that's one thing. You guys are just not worried about all the stuff that day-to-day people kind of worry about on how do we move 5 of these, or how do we sell more of this, or whatever. You're just like, we just got to keep going and making it better. And
well, and I kind of think of it more along the lines of like, you're kind of herding it. You're chasing it. You're not steering what's going on.
Can't force it. You guide it.
So you kind of just I don't know. You've got a fluid guardrail, and you're in charge of setting the guardrail, and the car's going to go where the car's going to go. You just got to kind of, you want it to be as efficient straight shot as you can, but sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you're going to bounce guardrail to guardrail. Yeah. As long as you're doing what you can to help guide it, I think that if you try to overly force it, it's not going to
that's where it gets,
work well for you.
It gets hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the final questions is, what does it mean to you to not suck at business, at life? What's some advice?
I mean,
What's helped you get to where you are? What's helped the business get to where you are? Like in a an umbrella view. What's it take in life?
I think one of the biggest things that has been something my dad kind of instilled in me, and it's something that I go day to day. I'm constantly always thinking about it. If you don't learn something new every day, you're backing up. So if you can keep yourself in a frame of mind that you're open to education, you're open to learning something new all the time, which is why I engross myself in this random YouTube extravaganza when I can.
Love it.
You really don't close yourself off to thinking you know everything. I guarantee you there's not one person on this planet that knows everything that they need to know to be successful right now. So as long as you continue every day, anything that you can do to expand the knowledge, to try something new, to tweak, just as long as you're making educational growth. I think if you can keep yourself in that, you'll constantly be you'll be putting yourself in success's way.
I like that. Yeah, no matter what you'll find your way through it to learn what you need to learn for whatever stage you are in life or whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
Because it'll be informational to you and beneficial at that point. Maybe last week it wasn't, but this week it might be. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. So I mean, to wrap it up, we got a couple cameras. If you want to just tell people, like, obviously, you guys have a super niche thing. It's not like you're trying to sell 1,000 of these things, but if they want to follow your guys' journey and where maybe you go with the business and things in the future, where should they go to follow you guys or visit your website? Or
I mean, the website quickdriveracing.com. That's a pretty good place to grasp educationally about what we're doing, kind of how the device works, what it's used for, where it's significant. We try to put up a lot of the racing action and all that stuff on the social media side of things. So if they want to see, track, what's going on track event wise and stuff, I would encourage everybody to go to the Facebook page, the Instagram page. A lot of our clients are good about tagging us and stuff. So, but yeah, it's not for everybody. If you're looking to soup up your Honda Civic, probably not the product line you want to familiarize yourself with. But if you've got a 3,000 plus horsepower race car that you want to stop working on the clutch in, or you want to have more control over with a torque converter, that's where you want to go look.
Or if you just want to learn something new today.
Oh yeah, if you want to expand that education, for sure.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Certainly, thank you.
The talk was great. Conversations always, and we'll see. Maybe get you back on here later and see where you're at in the future.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Excited for you guys.
Come back in a hurry.
Love it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.